The cargo bay of the Celestial Drift hummed with the low thrum of recycled air and distant engine vibrations. Jassy sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface projected from her wrist-mounted neural link. Lines of quantum code cascaded before her eyes like luminescent waterfalls, each string a pathway through the ship's security protocols. She didn't look up when the airlock hissed open 3 decks above. She didn't need to. Daniel worked beside her, his small form hunched over a disassembled graviton stabilizer. At 7 standard years, the boy was already more proficient with Xenotech than most certified engineers twice his age. His thin fingers, still bearing the faint iridescence of Kepler 442b's atmospheric exposure, carefully extracted a burnt-out coil from the device's core. The blue bioluminescent marks on his neck, remnants of the genetic modifications that had saved his life during the colony, collapse pulsed softly with his heartbeat. The child wasn't hers by blood. Jassy had pulled him from the wreckage of Research Station Prometheus 3 cycles ago, the only survivor among 247 souls. The raiders had been thorough, but they hadn't expected a human woman with military-grade neural implants and a very particular set of modifications to arrive in the middle of their pillaging. Jassy? Daniel's voice was soft, uncertain. Someone's coming? I know, she replied, her tone flat, attention still locked on the cascading code. Her fingers never stopped moving. The footsteps were deliberate now, heavy boots on grated metal. 5 individuals, judging by the rhythm. Jassy's enhanced auditory processors painted a 3-dimensional map in her mind. 3 Varaxian mercenaries, identifiable by their 3-legged gait, 1 Terran turncoat, and something heavier. A Krell enforcer, probably. They traveled in packs, these deep space pirates, preying on civilian transports along the outer rim routes. They'd made their first mistake by boarding the Celestial Drift. They were about to make their second. Stay behind me, Jassy said quietly. Daniel moved without question, his small hand gripping the edge of her jacket. The boy had learned not to argue with that tone. The pirate crew entered through the cargo bay's main access. Their leader was indeed a Krell 8 feet of bioengineered muscle and reptilian armor plating, with eyes like burning coals set in a skull that seemed designed by evolution specifically for intimidation. His translator collar crackled as he spoke. Human, you will surrender ship codes. All cargo. All currency. His massive hand rested on a plasma rifle that looked like it could punch holes through starship hulls. Behind him, the Varaxians chittered among themselves, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among their kind. Jassy's fingers continued their dance through the holographic interface. She was 12 seconds from completely rewriting the ship's environmental controls. 8 seconds from overriding the cargo bay's gravity plating. 4 seconds from accessing the external airlock protocols? I said. The Krell began again. Taking a step forward, that's when the Terran turncoat made the fatal error. He was young, probably no older than 25 standard years, with the desperate look of someone who'd chosen piracy over starvation. His eyes locked onto Daniel, and something predatory flickered across his face. Perhaps he thought taking the child hostage would expedite negotiations. Perhaps he simply wasn't thinking at all. His hand shot out, fingers closing around Daniel's thin arm. Jassy moved. To say she moved would be insufficient. It suggested sequential action, a progression of events. What actually happened existed in the space between intent and consequence, too rapid for unaugmented eyes to process. Her right hand, still manipulating holographic code, never stopped. Never even trembled. Her left hand became a blur of calculated violence. The turncoat's scream was abbreviated, cut short by shock and the sudden biological impossibility of drawing breath with shattered ribs. Jassy's augmented fingers, stronger than titanium alloy, faster than hydraulic pistons, had closed around his wrist with 17,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. The bones didn't just break. They pulverized. Radius and ulna disintegrated into fragments. Carpals collapsed like ancient pottery. Metacarpals turned to powder inside skin that suddenly had nothing to give it shape. The pirate's hand flopped boneless. a grotesque mockery of human anatomy, still technically attached but fundamentally destroyed. 27 bones reduced to crystalline fragments in the time it took for his neurons to transmit the first electrical scream of agony to his brain. Jassy released him without looking. Her eyes never left the holographic interface. Her fingers never stopped their dance through the quantum code. The pirate collapsed, cradling his ruined appendage. Whimpering, the cargo bay fell silent except for his sobbing and the steady hum of ship systems. The Krell's eyes widened, a remarkable feat given their typically stoic neural architecture. The Varaxians' mandibles froze mid-click. They'd seen violence before. They'd perpetrated violence before? But this was something else entirely. This was precision applied to brutality. This was a human who dismantled another human's skeletal structure without even granting them the courtesy of eye contact. "Environmental controls compromised," Jassy said softly, as if commenting on the weather. "Gravity plating offline in 5 seconds. External airlock opening in 7. You have 6 seconds to decide if you'd like to negotiate or if you'd prefer to discover what vacuum does to Krell respiratory systems." The lead pirate's translator collar crackled. No words emerged. His burning eyes darted between Jassy's calm face, her still dancing fingers, and the broken man at his feet. 4 seconds, Jassy noted. They ran. All 4 of them, scrambling toward the access corridor with the panic of creatures who'd suddenly recognized they weren't predators in this scenario. They were prey, the airlock sealed behind them. Jassy's fingers finally stopped moving and the holographic interface dissipated. She turned to Daniel, her expression softening marginally. "You okay?" The boy nodded, blue marks pulsing faster on his neck. "You didn't even look at him." "Didn't need to," Jassy replied, standing and retrieving a medical kit from the wall storage. "Sometimes looking is what makes you hesitate. Hesitation gets people killed." She approached the whimpering turncoat who'd curled into a fetal position, still cradling his destroyed hand. With clinical efficiency, she injected him with a pain suppressant and began stabilizing the injury. The bones were beyond repair without surgical reconstruction, but she could at least prevent him from going into shock. "You'll live," she told him flatly. "Though you'll never use this hand again. Consider it a lesson about touching things that don't belong to you." Daniel watched as Jassy worked, his young mind processing the violence he'd witnessed and the mercy being administered in its aftermath. It was a contradiction that defined her brutal protection paired with unexpected compassion, executed with the same cold efficiency. "Are we safe now?" he asked. Jassy glanced at him, something almost resembling a smile touching her lips. "With me, always." The celestial drift hummed around them, continuing its journey through the infinite dark, carrying a woman who'd become legend in the outer rim, the human who'd broken a man's hand without looking, sending a message that would echo through every pirate haven from here to the galactic core. Some prey fight back, and some cubs have guardians who know exactly how many bones comprise a human hand, and exactly how much pressure it takes to reduce them all to dust.